what I want to help people do is be able to recognize the signs early so they can make adjustments, because you're losing so much time, so much efficiency, so much creativity, so much effectiveness. And if you're a leader, just think about how you might be impacting your team.
Hi, and welcome to Handbag Designer 101, the podcast with your host, Emily Blumenthal, handbag industry expert and the handbag fairy godmother. Each week, we uncover the stories behind the handbags we love, from the iconic brands and top designers to the creativity, craftsmanship, and culture that define the handbag world. Whether you're a designer, collector, or simply passionate about handbags, this is your front row seat to it all. Welcome, Ginna Christensen, creative recovery specialist, to Handbag Designer 101, the podcast. Welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
So we found each other on Substack, the latest sexy platform where everybody for now seems to be really nice and positive and supportive. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah. I've really shied away from other social media platforms. I mean, I am on them, but when I say that I've shied away, I don't feel like I'm active or really engaged, even though I might be posting. I feel like Instagram has just become a place for it to feed me things that I feel like I need to buy. And also just sort of a place where I'm wasting a lot of time. And Substack just feels more supportive. Like the content that's out there, the community that's a part of it. And I always really enjoyed writing. It's always been a part of my life since I was a kid. So, just having a long also format opportunity to kind of put ideas out there has been super fulfilling, I think.
So I couldn't agree more. I was a reluctant joiner because it just feels like, oh my God, here's another thing I need to do within a span of social responsibilities. And I don't mean that in a give back kind of way. It's like a social media, oh crap, there's one more thing I need to do to keep my footprint, to know that I exist without doing Google ads or keywords. It's like, okay, here's a way for a long form blog post that at least I know more people are going to read, as opposed to having them come to my site. I mean, I strongly recommend it, although it is extra work. But if you have a way to do a behind the scenes view of what inspired you to do what you do and get people to follow and buy into what you're doing, then it's worth it. What exactly, Ginna, is a creative recovery specialist? I'd love to hear more.
I'm so glad you asked. It's interesting. I've been working as a business and leadership coach since 2018. And, as my work has evolved and the clients that I have attracted have morphed and changed, what I find is in essentially a 2-year span, I seem to attract clients that are going through similar things, right? And the past 2 years have really been all about burnout. So people have come to me saying things like, I've been doing this for 15 years. I have a successful business and I want to blow it up. Or I need you. I feel like it's time for me to downsize. I want to have a life again. Right. Or I'm going through a breakup with my business partner because we could no longer move forward the way we were. We need to figure out how to restructure to make our business sustainable. Right. And so for me, since I work mainly with people working in creative fields, like when you are burnt out, you have zero creative energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what I started to really recognize is, the first step here is we need to heal the burnout. We need to heal the creative fatigue. And then the next step is find a more resilient and sustainable way of working. So you're not getting to the point where in another year, you're like, I want to quit what I'm doing. I've fallen out of love. I've lost my passion. I don't have any creative ideas. I feel like the weight of the world is on my shoulders. It's not what I wanted to do when I first started, those kind of things. So creative recovery specialist is really all about, diving in, figuring out what is the cause of the creative fatigue that someone is experiencing, helping them heal that, and then help them discover their right way of working that is sustainable and resilient, because it's different for everybody.
So hypothetically, let's just say, because I want to make sure we look after who our core listeners are, people who have a brand, it got to a point, it's not going to the next level. What would the first key things that you would say to do? Because I'm sure a lot of what you do is homework based because you can't do all the work. You can say, here's some things that you need to do. So in order for me to work with you, because the designers with whom I've worked, so many of them come back and turn it back on you for the fact that they didn't get to the next level and things didn't work. And I've always had to say to them, I've given you every suggestion, feedback under the sun. We've gone through it. You have chosen not to take all the information that we discussed and apply it and use it and implement it. And for those reasons, you cannot expect change. So how do you deal with all that? What are the first key homework assignments that you give people?
Well, I'm so glad that you brought up that point because I think people sometimes have a misconception of what coaching is. Because like to your point, like I'm not doing the work for you. I'm not even telling you really what to do. I mean, yes, as you said, like there are exercises, there are questions, there are prompts. But like my whole philosophy is that there is no one right answer for everybody, right? And so the work is really about leading people into, what is the right answer for them. And so like if somebody's coming to me and they are experiencing creative fatigue or burnout, the first thing we need to do is figure out where it started, right? So one of the things that I like to start out doing is talking about like, where are you working out of integrity? Because if you're working out of integrity, right, with yourself, it means that you're probably feeling stuck. You're experiencing resistance, a lack of self-confidence, which is a big thing that people don't realize is related to burnout or creative fatigue. That lack of self-confidence, a consistent doubt, not feeling supported or like they are reconnected to their purpose. It's probably because they're out of integrity. And there are 5 types of integrity. There's physical integrity. Am I actually like monitoring my own physical workforce energy? Am I paying attention? Am I taking rest when I need it? Or am I just like pushing through no matter what at all costs? Right? Am I relying on adrenaline constantly to keep me going? That's a rocky road. Resource is another type of energy, or another type of integrity. And it's all about, am I committing resources that I don't have in order to prove my value or worth to myself or others? So that could be money, that could be time. Am I saying yes that I really want to be saying no to? Identity integrity is another form, which is that feeling that I can't really be who I am and be successful. I need to be somebody else. I need to be like my old mentor, my old boss. I need to do it like that person did. I can't do it the way I would do it because I just won't be successful. By the way, that's probably the biggest false statement that anyone can believe. I think your true path to success is being as true to yourself as you possibly can be. 4th is moral integrity. And moral integrity is when we feel that we have to violate our own values in order to be successful. And lastly is energetic integrity. And this happens when we're so exhausted and burnout, but we feel like we have to work instead of allowing ourselves to rest. So that's usually where I start, is touching on those 5 points and having my client rate themselves on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being I'm in complete integrity, 1, I don't even know what being integrity would look like.
Yeah,
that's a really great place to start.
That's really, really tough. I mean, all of those are probably really hard to digest, but going to see you and speak to you is already a big enough step, or speaking to any coach within that space, because you're acknowledging that you have some sort of challenge that you cannot handle yourself and change needs to happen. How do you approach it within moving forward, that you take this data and you have someone, or they have a quasi-successful business, or they have some people buying their product and they don't know what to do next? Are you within that space, or that's not what you cover? Or do you have them go back to really discover their product, or is it going back and reflecting on themselves? How do you handle all this? Just because this is not something I'm familiar with.
Yeah. So, the thing about the way I work, I essentially work in two different ways. One, I have a program. I have a 6-month program. It's called the Creative Comeback. The first part is all about healing the creative fatigue and burnout. So it goes deeper into causes, how to recognize it, because what I find too is that burnout is something that sneaks up on us. And once it happens, right, once we're completely burnt out, like we don't realize it until we are so burnt out that we literally can't get out of bed for a week, And so what I want to help people do is be able to recognize the signs early so they can make adjustments, because you're losing so much time, so much efficiency, so much creativity, so much effectiveness. And if you're a leader, just think about how you might be impacting your team being a burnout leader, right? Typically, burnout leaders are very reactive. They're not listening. They're not engaged with their team. Their team is going to feel bad. They may feel micromanaged. They're not going to be as effective, and as proactive as you actually want them to be, especially if you're feeling burnt out. So we really dive into understanding that what you're experiencing is potentially burnout, and how to fix it. The next stage is really going into understanding how you work best, right? And this is a deep dive. And one of the modalities that I've studied throughout my coaching training is a modality called human design. And it is a really valuable tool in helping people understand how to get back to who they are, right? Because there's so much noise.
So much.
Right? Now more than ever. And so how do we get people to be centered, honor themselves, and give them permission to work in a way that they feel is most natural? Because that's how they're going to be the most successful. So that's the second part. The third part is all about leadership. How do we simplify leadership? How do we make leadership feel authentic? Because I find that the word leadership, much like money, it really can trigger people. Just like with money, there are some people that are like, oh, money, it comes and goes. It comes easily. I make it, whatever. And there are other people that, money is a very triggering word. And I find the same thing is true for leadership. Some people grab onto it and have no problem with it. And others are like, that's not me. I mean, I have clients who own companies that are like, I hate being called the boss, right? So it's all about when you're the owner of a company, right? You are a leader, whether you want
Right.
own that or not. So it's all about finding the pathway to leadership that feels authentic to you, right? Because there may have been a picture that was painted of what a leader is that is bossy, micromanaging, loud, things that they are not, because a leader can be nurturing. They can be a support system. They can be a mentor. Like it doesn't have to be, yelling and screaming and you did that wrong. So that's what that part of the program is. So that's one of the ways I work with people. And that does require there's a lot of homework and work done on your own with that part. The other part is just customizing the work based on the client's needs. So if they're like, hey, I have a client that I worked with a few years ago who just came back to me recently because she's decided that she wants to downsize her business and she just wants support in figuring out, how do I do it? What does that look like? What's really important to me? What's changed? And so much of that and the exercises I do with people who may be going through some kind of transition is really about, visioning. It's about, what are my values? Not the values I think I should have, but what are the ones that I can't get out of bed every day without these?
Right.
Am I honoring them?
Right.
What do they look like in action? What do they look like as policies within my business? Because those are the key foundational pieces that help build and support a brand.
If you ever wanted to start a handbag line and didn't know where to start, this is for you.
Living proof that independent designers can make it big.
Absolutely. Blumenthal is one prime example.
If you had dreams of becoming a handbag designer and didn't know where to start, this is for you. If you have a handbag brand and are in need of strategy and direction, this is for you. I'm Emily Blumenthal, handbag fairy godmother and handbag designer expert, and this is Handbag Designer 101, the masterclass. Over the next 10 classes, I will break down everything you need to know how to make, market, and manufacture a handbag. Broken down for you that you'll not only skip steps in that handbag building process, but also save money in that learning curve. For the past 20 years, I've been teaching at the top fashion universities in New York City, created the Handbag Awards, and also the Handbag Designer 101 podcast. I'm going to show you like I have countless brands from sketch to sample to shelf, whether you're just starting out and don't know where to begin, or even if you have a handbag line and just need some strategic direction, the Handbag Designer 101 Masterclass is just for you. So let's get started, and you will be the creator of the next it bag. Join me, Emily Blumenthal, with the Handbag Designer 101 Masterclass.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, everything you're saying resonates. I had this large scale event for 15 plus years, and it was how people identified me. It was how I identified myself. And then COVID hit, and it was just not physically possible to host this 500 person in-person large scale global event to have everybody and pull budgets from people for handbags. It was absolutely challenging. And after that, it kind of became, and I know I'm not the only one who had to go through this, was a personal rebrand, relaunch. Who am I? How do people see me? How do I make money? How do I monetize what I'm doing, but yet remain authentic to the people who know me and the people who've grown to trust me within my space in that field? So it's definitely something. What made you decide, like after day jobbing, that this is where you think you belong? It's interesting.
Yeah, I love that. It's a great question. So my last job before I went out on my own was really probably started out really as my dream job. I was creative director of a rug company that was in Los Angeles, and the owners of the business basically gave me creative freedom. I mean, I did crazy stuff. They were on Melrose Avenue, had floor-to-ceiling windows that were 40 feet high and 40 feet wide. And I was able to do what I wanted with that window space. And what I wanted to do, again, my whole philosophy has always been about how do you differentiate yourself in an authentic way is stand out. And so I just kept following my intuition, which was not always easy to do. It's just like, I know this is what I have to do. So I had a lot of really creative freedom, and yet there were ideas I had that I knew were not right for the brand. And so in that creative space, whereas again, I was allowed to be really free, I recognized, there might be something else after this, right? And it was also a timing thing, right place, right time. I met my now husband while I was working in that job, who lived on the East Coast. So I was also thinking about like, how can I have more freedom for travel? Maybe I go out on my own. And I wound up going out on my own in 2017. And at the time, I was strictly creative consulting. So I was going in, helping other brands. They'd seen what I had done, the rug company I had worked for, in really kind of invigorating them with excitement. Like people couldn't wait to come in and see what we were doing, right? And of course, that had a huge impact on the business. So I started working with a few companies, again, in the West Hollywood area, and things went really well the first year. But in the second year, I started to come up against what I didn't realize at the time was fear from my clients. Because again, my philosophy was all about, listen, we got to hone in on your differentiating points, your natural differentiating in the marketplace. Really accentuate those. That's going to be the secret to getting you to stand out and attracting the clientele that you're looking for. And it just made people really nervous. So I might get a yes, we're going to do all that stuff, right? And in the final hour, they'd be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We don't know.
Yeah, I get that within that space, and getting people to really hone in on a paragraph on what's your USP, what's your unique selling point. And then from there, it was too much. That was too overwhelming. And then it was, what's 3 sentences? Give me some names. What's your brand essence? Just give me adjectives and let's extrapolate and let's go from there, because you can't go into a market and think that you can attract clients, keep clients, and have them wanting to come back if you don't have something unique that differentiates you from someone else. Because as I've told so many designers that who have overpriced their bags, have not had anything unique about them, have not done any kind of design, or had done something that was too similar to what everybody else was doing. I said, you need to know that the sun is going to go up and down without you, and people don't need you. Your point is to separate yourself as a want versus a need. And if you can convert yourself to a need, then you really need to show what makes you so special to have somebody say, this is where I want to put my money, my energy, my time, my trust. So I get that. It's a really hard thing to convert people to be willing to put in that work.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've seen it too, throughout my career. I've both in the fashion industry and in the interiors industry, people coming to it with this mentality of, oh, if I build it, they will come. If I open the store, people are just going to walk in.
Right.
And it's like, what? And I think the difficulty, the hard part of the work that you and I are talking about for people is it makes people feel really vulnerable.
Yeah,
It feels
because
personal.
yeah, better I wait for people to come than me try something and fail for people to know what I did didn't work. So I get it. Like I'll fail hoping for people to stop by, but not put myself out there to take that risk that could go wrong, where then it's a stain that's how people would perceive me. Oh, he, they are the people that did this, as opposed to, okay, well, I did it. People might like it. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't know, but that's better than me trying something and failing. But yet you put all this time and money into creating this product that you want to sell.
Yeah.
And they went and found you and hired you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it was really that discovery, that understanding, which took me a while, quite frankly, to understand that, oh, this is fear, that made me go, oh, I need to go back to school. Because if I'm really going to help people, like make a difference in their businesses, I need to help them get through this fear piece, because they're never going to make change if they can't get over this, right? So that's when I went back to school to get my coaching certificate, and I've continued to study and work with people and, play with different modalities and techniques, because again, everyone's different. The same technique may work for one person and not for another. The same kind of asking questions may work for one person and not for another, So it's a very personal kind of experience that I co-create with the client.
For people who are considering a coach, someone like you, what are some things that they should have prepared before they come to see you? What should they have written down? At what point in their mentality should they feel comfortable to say, you know what, it's okay to ask for help? Are there any cues that you can point out?
What's coming to mind for me is one, normally what happens is people come to me because they've been through some kind of disruption, whether it's breaking up with their partner, the business just isn't working for them anymore. I don't know, they turned 60 and they've decided they want to pull back a little bit, or they've just realized, they're in a serious case of burnout, not sure that they want to do what they do for a living anymore, right? They need to start coming out of what that disruption is, right? Because when you're stuck in the middle of the problem, when you're in the eye of the storm, it's really hard to create change. There needs to be a little bit of space. So sometimes I'll have a discovery call with somebody and I'll tell them, I'm going to give you some suggestions, things to do to start healing, but you're not ready yet. You're not ready for coaching yet. Like, we could start, but you're not going to get anywhere, right? You need to have a little bit of separation from this, right? So, and I think the other piece is that we touched on earlier is for people to really understand what coaching is like. And I should say what coaching is like with me, which is like, I'm only interested in getting to the root of the problem, because I feel like we're not going to fix anything until we get to the root. So if you don't want to go to the root, if you're not willing to do the work, if you're not willing to be honest with yourself, I'm certainly not the coach for you. Right. And coaching may not be for you, but I know there are coaches out there that have a template and a platform, and they'll even give you, templates for emails and stuff like that, which is not what I do, because to me, that's not coaching. Coaching is about, again, helping the client discover the answers that already live inside them. Right.
Ginna, this has been enlightening. Now I feel like I need a coach. It's like you listen to, my mom always jokes that I'm everybody's favorite customer because if I listen to things long enough, I'm like, me too. Me too. It's how I end up with half the crap I have at my house. I'm so happy that infomercials really don't exist anymore
But you know what that tells me? Like, that shows me you're somebody who has an open mind. Yeah. And that you're probably have the potential to be a really good mediator. Like you were telling me before we got online, you have children. So I'm sure they get into fights, as I have siblings, we did. And I imagine that when you talk to each child individually, that you understand and can fully understand where they're coming from.
Yes, I was much nicer before the pandemic. I can say that. And the pandemic, I think everybody stripped all of that ability to have the kind of patience that we all used to. And my threshold went from this to this. I also believe in empowering. I believe in independence. I believe in, even with the designers with whom I've worked, I need to know that you're willing, able, and want to make these changes and make these adjustments. And if I give you homework, you know that this is something you want to do and put the time in, because if you don't, I can't help you reach those results, which I'm sure you 100% agree with.
Exactly the same. The work is exactly the same.
Yep.
I think with coaching, the thing, obviously, we're both extraordinarily motivated individuals. I think you have to be if you're an entrepreneur and, working on your own. And I think one of the things that is a human trait is that we all expect other people to be like we are.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
Right. And so there can be frustration.
Yeah.
I've experienced it with clients before. Why aren't you doing your homework? And the thing that I have learned, I learned this early on in coaching, but to really integrate it, takes some time, is that you have to meet people where they're at.
Oh, yes. That's the line. Meet you where they are. Oh boy, this is crazy. Ginna, it has been an absolute delight. How can we find you, follow you, connect with you? How can we reach out and get more information?
Yeah. So my website is my name, GinnaChristensen.com. As you mentioned, I also have a Substack that's called The Resiliency Lab. And if you want to get a better feel for my coaching style, that's a really great place, the Resiliency Lab, to go, because I share a lot of exercises, coaching techniques, in that Substack. So it kind of gives you a window into my style and what it might be to work with me. And if you're interested in learning more, if you're like, oh, I've heard this podcast, I'd like to speak to her, on my website, on my Work With Me page, there is a prompt to schedule a discovery call, which I offer for free, an hour session, because I think it's really important that when you're working with a coach, that you have the chemistry that feels comfortable. It's so important. If you're not a right fit, you're not going to get anything done. So I think that it's really important to give that time to one another, because it's just as much, a kind of trial for me. Do I feel like this client is the right fit for me, and vice versa? So yeah, feel free to schedule a discovery call as well.
Ginna, and I just want to clear up for everyone listening, it's Ginna, and then Christensen is Chrisstensen, Ginna Christensen. So .com. Ginna, thank you for joining us today. It's been an absolute delight.
Thank you, Emily.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to rate and review and follow us on every single platform at Handbag Designer. Thanks so much. See you next time.